welcome to CCM Discovery. I am your host, Roger St. James, and I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to talk to some absolutely wonderful people that are doing some amazing work in video and making movies. So in just a couple of seconds, we are going to bring on Jay and Andrew Huff. But first, let's watch this.
Your dad works for some kind of military group, but can't tell you where he's going or what he's doing. He's totally a spy.
No, he's not a spy. Okay, you know what? He's totally a spy. And it doesn't help that there's the other problem.
First your spy mission.
Dot Connor, Webtective. Rated PG.
And that is Dot Connor, Webtective. And here are the folks that brought it to us, Jay and Andrew Huff.
Hey!
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, super excited to be here.
One of the first things we like to do here is we like to give people an opportunity to brag on their family. So I know you guys have some kids, so let's talk about how wonderful they are, because it's okay here. So if it takes an hour to tell us how great your kids are, go for it.
Well, we have 4 boys, and we are really proud of them. Like, you know, making the movie, yeah, it was a lot of work. Director, writer, director, producer. But like our kids, like we have spent the last year and a half trying to bring this movie, literally birthing this movie into the world. And so that was a lot of weekends. That was a lot of late nights. And then obviously when we were in pre-production, we were building the sets, putting the sets together. And then in production, we were shooting 18 days where a lot of, you know, sometimes they would come on set with us, but a lot of times we weren't around. And so they were really like just so supportive of us. And while we were like going through that process. And so, and they've, you know, never really like pushed back and been like, what, you know, how dare you, you know, you need to pay attention to me. They've really like, I'm so proud of them for how they've, you know, none of their other friends and none of their other, you know, have parents that like have to like duck out like this or, you know, are busy on weekends. And so I'm so proud of them for how they've kind of like rolled with it and responded so positively. So yeah, we have a 17-year-old. He's getting ready to graduate from high school, and he'll be going to a local state college here, and he wants to get a business degree so he can help us in our business. And so super proud of him. And then we have a 15-year-old who he's in 10th grade, and I don't know, he's one of those that like any sport he tries, he's good at.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he got it from. Because we're not, I mean, we like sports, but we're not like super sporty. And so just really just in awe of his athletic prowessism. And he's very also very like emotionally smart. So he can like read situations with such a level head. Probably gets it from you. And then we have, he's almost 13. We have a 12-year-old, and he's in 7th grade, and he loves Pokemon and games and just
Art.
art,
Very big into art.
very big
Yeah.
into drawing. And then we have an 11-year-old who is just anything wild and crazy and fun. He will find it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's there's a little bit of like, would Max watch this when it comes to a show, or
Yeah.
what would Max want in this situation? And
Yeah.
so he kind of is a little bit of inspiration when it comes to like making sure that everything is kind of falling in line for what a kid would want to watch and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and them being a part of the movie making process too was, I mean, we're a big do things together as a family group. We have dinner as a family every single night together, and don't allow phones at the dinner table, that kind of thing. And then play board games or do Nerf gun battles, or just, I mean, we do
hide and seek in the dark.
Hide and seek in the dark.
Nice.
Like, we're very big on family, like doing things together as a family, and not everybody kind of running off to do their own thing. And so the movie, them being around at the movie as much as they could be, was definitely a part of it. But a fun fact about Dot Connor Webtective, the movie, is that our oldest actually has a speaking role in the film. He plays the kid who bullies Dot on her first day of high school. So that was not typecasting. He's an incredibly nice guy, would be the guy that friends somebody like her.
Yeah.
And yet he played that role really well. So he get, and then everybody else had little cameos here and there in terms of being background actors. So
Oh yeah.
so it was a really fun process.
Yeah.
And that's, we can talk about that. Everybody that I have led to your show, Dot Connor, every single person has come back to me and said the casting is perfect. That everybody was built to play that role. How did that work? How did you guys make that happen?
Well, I'll kind of talk initially about the series because we cast that first, and Jay wasn't necessarily as involved in the casting of our three leads at that time because we were developing it in combination with another company. Jay ended up casting the movie, which I would say that she is a big part of why a lot of the parts are cast as perfectly as they are, because she's an incredible casting director. But one of the things that's really vital to us when it comes to any kind of the casting that we're doing is there's definitely the element of trying to get somebody that looks right for the role, and fits kind of the description of what we're looking for. But we want people that embody that role. And everybody did a video audition that we were considering. And it was sort of like, yes, there's an element of needing to direct somebody if they need it, especially in maybe like a smaller role. But in those key roles, it was really vital that when they did the video audition, and they may not have even talked to me initially, but there's just something that comes across that makes you feel like they're that character. And so I would say for Geely, I mean, right away from the beginning, with her video audition, she was Dot Connor. I mean, it was going to be extremely hard for anybody to beat her on that. And same thing with Ethan, who played Alex. They just nailed it in terms of a self-tape that they didn't get any direction on or anything like that. But I'll say that Lauren, and this is kind of why I'm telling the stories, because when we were casting Lauren, who plays Michaela, she definitely had great capabilities and is a really good actress. She's much older than the other two. And so when we were doing the series, she actually was in her early 20s, and they were like 13. And so she's having to play down as if she's a middle schooler, right? And I was worried that it wouldn't sell because people would think that she's much older than she's supposed to be. At the same time, another actress that was close to getting it and considering it just didn't have the right kind of chemistry with Geely in the way that Lauren did. They just really clicked. And so it was one of those, like, let's err on the side of the chemistry, the ability, and go along with it, even if there's a bit of and of course, all of that was just my like sensitivity to it. Nobody knows when they watch the series. Yeah. She does great. She looks like she fits in and everything. But yeah, it was incredibly important to us to get people who in that initial read, even if there's things we would tweak, we go, man, that's it right there. They got the spark. And that's what she's really great at. She wouldn't say this about herself, but she's really, really great at seeing that spark in terms of somebody and their acting ability, to go, okay, even if we would say, hey, that's not quite how we would do it, we see the spark that they have, the ability to understand what they're saying, the ability to like emote, all of that kind of stuff that goes into it, which I feel like you can pretty much tell, and I'm saying you can pretty much tell when she's watching a tape, so anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, when he directs, he's like, I already saw the movie in my head, so when I see on the monitor what I had in my head, it happens on the monitor, we're good, cut and let's move on to the next scene. And it's kind of like, I don't know, when somebody's, when I see a video audition, it's just, I don't know, you just kind of know when you're like, that person can do it. And it's sometimes it's a look and sometimes it's not a look. And sometimes it's just like, I don't know. It's just a weird feeling, and I wish I could
bottle it and sell it.
I know, I wish I could put it in better words, but
No, but you guys did it, and like I said, everybody that I've shared this with has said the same thing. Everybody plays the role that they were supposed to play.
Yeah.
And that's such a tribute to what you get, the effort you guys are putting into it. Now, we touched on it a little bit. You mentioned series, and then you mentioned movies. Originally, Doc Connor was a YouTube series, and then
Sort of. Yeah, not really. So it started out as for a now defunct streaming platform, like an original series for that platform.
Oh, okay.
Because I was involved with a company that was working on that back starting in 2019. And so this was sort of before the streaming boom that occurred. The streaming boom happened in sort of 2020, middle of 2020, and kind of took a lot of the wind out of the sails of that platform that I was working on. But it was sort of a Christian streaming platform that would feature a lot of teaching content and some kids content, but be all very, very kind of driven by short form stuff. And so even though it was designed sort of like YouTube videos that you watch, where it was like, her talking to camera and all that kind of thing, it was very much intended to be more of a streaming series for this platform. And so from there, after the streaming platform really didn't take off, we were able to secure the series ourselves, and it's ours, and finish out the first season and work with some Christian streaming platforms at that point that had cropped up to get it out there. And so it really started, I would say, on Christian kids streaming platforms like Minnow Kids and Yippee TV and Redeem TV, if you've heard of that. That's really where it got its start, where we lived in the beginning. It eventually made its way to YouTube, but we were very set on trying to do a lot of more episodic content. And as we kind of kept going down this path of trying to place season 2 somewhere, a lot of times these streaming platforms, they love taking the content, but they don't really develop the content, right? They're more distribution partners, not necessarily production partners. And so we just really struggled to find the right home for it. And that we decided to pivot to the movie because we really wanted to do something to kind of finish out the sort of storyline with the cast.
Yeah.
Because
it's a cliffhanger at the end of episode 8. So
yeah, the series.
Definitely, yeah.
And our cast was getting older. And so we were like, well, we got to strike while the iron's hot with our cast, because we can't eventually get to a season 2 when they're in their 20s, all of them. So.
Yeah, it was amazing that they still, I mean, Ethan definitely probably is the one I would say has changed the most, but even him, like, it really isn't a hard leap to go from episode 8 into the movie. You know, they look a little older, but it's not like awful. You know, they all look, even Lauren does her hair the same, you know, and I love that. And Ethan and Geely really tried to keep their hair the same too, which was this. Yeah. But like I don't think they did much work to do that, you know.
Well, when we wrote up, you know, in the movie, they're now high schoolers to try to maintain the illusion. But I think that was where we just were like, we really wanted to wrap that up and be able to get some more filmed content out there before it got too late. So
we're just excited to make more Christian faith-based content for the Christian family. Like, it just feels like there's sometimes it feels like there's too much and not enough at the same time, and I don't know how I can hold it, how that happens. But it's one of those things where maybe it's just we just wanted like content for the American family that looked like something that you would see on Disney or Netflix, with such a high production value, with a good script and good cast. And we really, really wanted that for the American family, and honestly for the little American girl who doesn't have somebody that they can look up to or a good role model in any of the movies that Disney's putting out. And so, or, you know, some of the other content. Yeah. So it was one of those things where, like, yes, we wanted this for the storyline. But we just, there's just such a passion for trying to provide for the American family, and God has given us these gifts. And it was just, and there was an opening, there was a strategy behind it, and it was, God's given us this opportunity, and just jump, you know, and we'll see, but God's going to do something with it, you know?
And well, we have somebody here, CCM Discovery, we have our own reviewer, and she wanted to pop in here to give you her opinion.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna go to Miss Lily Hall, and she's gonna tell you what she thought.
Very cool.
I loved Dot Connor. It was amazing about all the detective stuff and the Jesus stuff. I learned about hermeneutics, and that Jesus was perfect and that he could walk on water.
Excellent.
That is the official CCM Discovery reviewer, Lily Hall.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I can't believe she got hermeneutics. Like,
Yeah, right.
Really I love that. That's one of my favorite lessons, and I think it's just because it echoes even now. Yesterday's small group girl, I lead an 8th grade girls small group, and they were talking about misunderstandings over text messages. And it's like it's so true. And the fact that you were able to write an episode that takes a very modern day problem of understanding text messages and relating it to how we understand and read the Bible in a way that teens can, and obviously so 5-year-olds can kind of understand. I love that. I love that and honestly, like also helping them with just texting etiquette. That's great too. Yeah, right. So, but I mean, that's the goal of the series. Like, we think the Bible is so fun and the Bible is entertaining, and there's so much there to learn from and to bring to your life. And it's just such a joyful book, not just, just a guidebook. And we want kids to know the word and to love the word and to enjoy the word. And that was kind of through this whole series. Hopefully we got them to see the Bible in another way, so that they aren't as intimidated to crack it open when it's not just Moses or Noah or something. Like, there's other things to learn about it. And so I love, hermeneutics. Yes.
Yeah. It blew my mind when she said that word that I still can't say, so I'm not even going to try. But Lily got it, and what happened? It got cut off there at the end. And what was funny is at the end of it, she took her hand and went like this, just like Dot does. I thought that was great. Now, where did the idea? I mean, to me, she's kind of a Lizzie McGuire meets Harriet the Spy kind of thing. Now, where did you guys get the idea for Dot?
So I created the character when I was working for on a video series, not a video series, a singular video for a church, for a church's children's program, like an Easter program. And this was going on almost 10 years ago now. And that's how old the character is in terms of a character that's been a part of sort of like my imagination. But it was really a way to, I wanted to be able to communicate in that instance about the resurrection of Christ, but ultimately communicate things that we felt like, hey, like Jay mentioned, the Bible is exciting. There's a lot there, and we think kids can understand a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And so making her a detective was really kind of, I'm just a big detective story fan. And so that just kind of made sense, right? It's like, we look at the Bible like it's a mystery sometimes, and it's really not. It's God's revealed word to us. And so, so it really is, once you get into it, is meant to be understood. So detective just kind of made sense. And then I basically took that, because I grew up on, Alfred Hitchcock and Columbo and all these like old Hardy Boys, and She'd Read Nancy Drew, and all of the stuff that sort of we loved about that, and I mashed that into what was starting to trend at the time, which was vlogs on YouTube, people filming themselves and creating vlogs. And that just I did that because it made it easy to produce, because then if she's bringing you along on her investigations through vlogging, then it's really just it tends to be one location heavy of her direct to camera. And if you need to, for instance, in order to get an economical way for us to have Bethany Hamilton as a part of the original series was it's a video call. And that makes sense in the context of Dot Connor's world because that's what she does. She's online, she vlogs, she does her own podcast, she films herself, she takes video calls, and so it works, because Bethany's in Hawaii. We can't afford to fly her here, So so it worked, So that was a big part of how that ended up sort of coming into play. But I mean, I'm just such a big fan of that stuff that to fill out her world and to give her all of these things was very natural based on just how much I was into mystery novels and movies and TV shows. So,
yeah, and two of the things that I really find very interesting about the series is how you balance the kid humor with the adult humor. There's a very good where the jokes are never talking down to anybody.
Yeah.
And everybody seems to get the jokes, and they're all good jokes. Was that something that just kind of happened, or did you consciously try to put that in there?
I think we definitely were conscious about it. Again, we kind of come from a little bit more of an older way of looking at things. Like when we were growing up, watching the movies and TV shows that we watched, that's what they did. Was often. There were jokes for adults and there were jokes for kids. And the biggest thing that I want to say, I want to almost applaud ourselves for, but say that like this.
You're allowed. It's good.
But it sort of it sounds condescending towards, or not condescending, but critical of other people in children's, when they're creating children's media, is we think kids are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. And so we never looked at kids in a condescending manner to say, hey, you're not capable, so we just got to find the lowest lowest common denominator joke to, and like kind of go underneath it, because we were like, no, they can get it. Like, even if there's a joke that like, I'll give you, for instance, to be honest with you, we've had kids that are maybe 4 or 5 years old who've watched the movie, which I'd argue the movie skews a little even older than the series does. But we'd have, 4 or 5 year old watch the movie and love it. But I know they're gonna watch it maybe as a 10-year-old, and it's just gonna land different because there's stuff that's going over their head, right? And they just kind of love it for the feeling of it, probably, and a lot of the stuff they can get. I mean, it's not a complicated plot, but we also, the biggest thing for me, especially with the film, was we have 4 kids, and so we sit through a lot of kids movies, and when it's a movie that like you're just as a parent like wanting to like bore your eyes out with a spoon or something, because like we were like,
I've got 2 kids. I understand completely.
Yeah, so we were like, I don't like being bored in a movie. I don't want the parents that we were asking to come bring their kids to this movie to be bored either. So that's such a big part of what we do, is wanting to try to do that, try to capture that magic that we all kind of feel in some of those movies, where it's like, yeah, we all kind of enjoyed that, So, and then my humor tends to probably skew. I think my sense of humor tends to skew a little towards kids in terms of how.
It's okay. You're an adult male. You're allowed to do that, Andrew. That's why dad jokes are so amazingly wonderful.
Right, exactly. So I just kind of let that go, right, and just go, yeah. I want it to be funny for the kids. One of the things we always said, especially going into the movie, was we really wanted kids to enjoy it, because for us, it's labeled a Christian film, even though we don't always feel called to make Christian content. We knew this was going to be Christian, and yet there's plenty of Christian films we've watched that we go, our kids would be so bored in this. And so it was so important for us to go, the kids cannot be bored. If the adults kind of write it off, that's one thing. But if we stick it to, if you
say it's a family movie, the family should be able to watch it. It's not a family safe movie. Like, right. Sure, a kid could watch this and not be upset, but which honestly, some of the family movies a kid would be upset.
Yeah, sometimes family movie just means
it's like the
clean.
content,
not necessarily that it's like but the kids are going to enjoy it.
That might, yeah. Again, like we talked about Max, my 11-year-old.
Yeah, or 11-year-old.
It doesn't. It's the Max test.
Yeah.
Like,
There
Max
you go.
will not watch this.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, I mean, it's a technically a Christian movie, but you're not beating anybody over the head with a Christianity. I mean, it's not and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a Christian story.
Mm-mm.
It's a story about people who happen to be Christian.
Yes, correct.
You know, so and that's what I think really comes through, that you know, even if you don't want to hear a Christian story, it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you guys accomplished there, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we set out to do. Yeah.
And the other thing that I absolutely loved about it is your cartoon shorts. The way whose idea was that? And because I don't know what it is about it, but it just I love it when it's now a cartoon. And, you know.
Well, and part of that was understanding the being sort of locked into they're constantly filming themselves or constantly looking at the camera. That can start to that's tough to really continue through, especially in a kids thing, which kids will watch that. Obviously, kids watch stuff all the time of other kids like filming themselves play or unbox something or something like that and look at the camera. So, but for us, it was really important to like try to have a couple of different types of storytelling techniques within it. And when it came to being able to, or doing the animation thing, it really became a part of trying to be able to pull ourselves out of the real world in a sense to unlock some extra visual punch. And so I think ultimately one of the biggest influences on it was stuff like Lizzie McGuire that involved animated elements, or plenty of other shows and movies that we watched as kids that McGee and Me that combined live action and animation. And so it was like, well, yeah, let's just do animation. And then the bigger thing that as we kind of started going along in the series was kind of understanding that was kind of our key element of bringing the Bible into it in a way where they could talk about, like, honestly, probably the episode that there's a couple of episodes people talk about the most, but one of them is when Dot gets into trouble and she gets grounded and she goes and meets J. Warner Wallace, and he's talking about sanctification. And it's like, well, the sort of construct for that is he's got this holographic thing that he can pull up, this like animated sequence to, and Dot's enthralled with it and all this kind of stuff. But it allowed us to get into something that's visually a little bit more entertaining than just watching someone talk to camera, when we're talking about something that's actually a little tough, like a little
abstract,
deep for kids, a little abstract. So it really got into combining those elements. Like, okay, we've got this kind of hermeneutics or sanctification, this thing that we are going to make it kid friendly, but let's combine that with a visual punch in like animation that really captures their attention and hopefully cements that for them. So it was kind of that. I mean, that was kind of the impetus of bringing that in.
And the thing that I love every time is that he uses a different animation style for each episode. So, I mean, yeah, like there's the holographic one. I don't even know how to name all of these different, the 2D animation, and then a Pixar inspired. We have like the pixelated one.
And it kind of was based more, it started to become a little bit more like what was the storyline of the episode that drove it. So like when it's sanctification and the animation happens, it's kind of pixelated art, right? Because it's supposed to be this like computerized holographic thing. And then one of the other ones that's a fun episode is the science fair scandal, where they're like capturing their nemesis Pamela Mondi in this like scheme to win the science fair, or whatever. But it's because they're fighting with her. It's like it's almost done like a video game, like action sequence kind of thing. So it really that was the fun part about doing the different styles, was being able to cater it to whatever the topic was or whatever the story was of that episode. So.
I think it's a flex how good you are at animation.
And that's what's neat. What I really liked about it is not that I was getting lost in the story, but all of a sudden it like me paid more attention because
Yeah,
it changed it. It's like, oh, something new here.
Yeah,
And then
right.
and then when you go into that and then you jump out of it, it just made it very memorable, and it was
Yeah.
so fun
That's
to
why we
watch.
would also bounce back and forth between having the guest be on a video call, or they would go in person to interview them and something would happen there. So yeah, always trying to find creative ways to like keep it visually interesting and moving instead of a lot of just dot in her chair talking directly
Yeah.
to camera.
Yeah, at no point does it ever become boring, and
No.
that's especially with Matt, your 11-year-old. You know, it can never be boring. You got to keep that in mind.
Right.
Now,
Loves that one.
now, Andrew, you wrote most of it, and Jay, you produced it. So
Yeah.
how? I mean, you guys have to go home together. You know, so how does that dynamic where you're working together all day? And I'm just going to guess that occasionally the writer, director, and the producer kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's hear you talk about
Yeah.
this.
Well, you know, the series.
Smart move, Andrew.
Yeah. The series was one thing, and then the movie is quite another. And so, I mean, I'll probably just pivot more to the movie just because that was a longer, like we were definitely entrenched in our roles at that point. And it was just such a long process in pre-production and production, and we were truly producer, writer, director.
Mhm.
And I think it's one of those things where it's like, we're a really good partnership. We figured out how our marriage works. And I think moms make really, really good producers if we gave ourselves a chance. I sometimes like to use the metaphor, like it's like planning a really big, long birthday party when you're doing a shoot, because, you know, he is the birthday boy and he tells me, you know, it's going to be Andy's 40th birthday, let's say. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you want the theme to be? Okay. And then what do you want? What guests do you want? What food do you want? And so then I go as producer and I make all of those things as best as I can. What games do you want to play? Like I make sure all of that is taken care of so that when it's his birthday, like, and it's time for his party, like all the elements are there and I've made sure that everything like is ready to run smoothly. And so it's just take that and just multiply it by 20 days. And that's kind of what a producer does. And I mean, there's a lot more when it comes to like show running and making sure that it lands where it needs to go. But for the most part, like you are putting those things in place. And so sometimes it is a little difficult when the birthday boy says that he wants to have a school bus or wants something that is just like, look, I only know so much. So sometimes it is like, okay, how far can I, as a really good producer, get the things that he wants, and then come back to him and just say, look, I've worked so hard, and I really don't think for the resources that we have and know, we can get you a school bus. So maybe she's just walking to school, you know, and then, you know, he has to decide and weigh his heart and decide, is that really what he wanted? And if he did, then like, we'll have to like pull a few more resources, you know, but it really is, I think because we work really well together as husband and wife, it works in this. And there's a lot of husband and wife director producing teams that actually work in film. I think the
Christopher Nolan and his wife.
Yeah. What and Cameron.
I don't think they do it anymore.
We're breaking news here.
But I mean, like there are a lot of, but still they did. So it can, and I think it's also, I mean, the hardest part is that sometimes, and we say on Saturdays, like absolutely, we don't do any work. And so we really try to just keep that like family day, but it is tough. Like sometimes at dinner, our kids are like, can we not talk about the movie? Always news. There's always things to talk about. There's always, and like he works here and I work over there, and we work on our own things because it's just different sections of a production house. And so then sometimes we meet at dinner and we compare notes.
Another important thing, and this is even if you were married or not, a director producer team, is best when everybody's kind of checking their egos at the door and saying, hey, this isn't about me getting my way, but it's about finding the common ground. It's about finding, and that's what a marriage is too. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, like, you kind of have to check your ego at the door as well and go, hey, what my job is to support that other person. And what, hopefully, if they also have the mentality, hey, it's not about getting what I want, but it's supporting them, then it can really start to work, because then you can, not that there's not bumps along the way, because there's obviously places where you disagree. But then it's just like, okay, we disagree on that, and what's the common ground? What's the thing we can get to? And so much of it, there's definitely places where I just was like, hey, this is how I want it.
Yeah.
But then there were also places where she was like, look, I mean, that's going to really hurt us. And I have to go, okay, let me get creative. Because the other sort of secret to this is really what makes good filmmakers. And that is, all of filmmaking is putting out fires and solving problems. I mean, that's all it is. It's like you're trying to solve the problem of how do you get to that final product. And so it's all about, if she's coming to me and going, hey, that's just not going to work. And I have to go, okay, how important is it? And if I don't feel that important about it, do I have an idea that can cover it within the limits of what we have, And that's just being willing to pivot, and not be like, well, no, but I wrote it this way and I saw it in my head this way. That's the only way we can do it, Get out,
Yeah. Well, hopefully, as a good producer,
get out, get it, make it done.
I've gone to him and said, hey, I'm thinking of the school bus example. I don't know why that's the one that's in my head.
Because it's so hard to get a school bus.
It is very hard to get a school bus. But be like, hey, Andy, you know what? I don't think with where we're at, we can do a school bus. Too bad, but like, I come to him and go, look, I think I can get maybe a car. We can carpool. We can try walking. And maybe, do you think we could do like this as a school bus, And so, do I get like one of those like church buses, like, is there a way that we could make it look like a school bus? Like, what is your intentionality and what is the shot that you see when she's riding in the school bus? Like, what are we trying to do here? And could any of these work? So as a producer, you're also, it's one of those things, like, if you're going to say no to a line item, you better have something
you
else
can say yes to, or something. Yeah.
I love that, and it kind of we've been talking about .Conner Webtective, but that's not all you guys do. I want to talk about Huff Media Productions, because that's where you guys came together. And when I met you guys at the at Content 2026 down in Nashville, and I attended your blue collar filmmaking seminar, which is fantastic, because it made me change the script I've been working on. I looked at it afterwards and say, oh, this is horrible. Now I have to go redo it again. No.
But it gave you another framework to look through it and go,
yes,
yeah.
But so the biggest thing, we're putting your website information underneath this as we talk. I highly recommend people go to that website and check out, the Piece of Christmas, Situation Room, The Portal, and my favorite, From Due to Done. Because
I love it. That one.
Because it is quality, and that's the thing that, as a Christian media person back, I did it for a long time, then I didn't do it for a longer time, but now I'm back in it. And the thing that always surprised me was the lack, and this is going to insult so many people, the lack of quality Christian products. But when I watch what you guys are doing, and you talk about your blue collar budget, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the one that, From Due to Done is my favorite, but the one that comes to mind with the quality was The Piece of Christmas.
Christmas.
Right.
That was so special. That was lovely...
and the budget would have, I think, surprised a lot of people in terms of what we spent to pull that off. Yeah, because when you're talking about a historical World War II piece, I mean, that obviously raises the budget. So,
but how do you do such quality? I mean, because it really it blew me away, and every and I believe the Situation Room. I mean, there's a lot of technology that you use in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you could just, give us a quick rundown of how you guys do such quality on a blue collar budget.
Well, and let me just, I'll say this. I know you could have a lot to throw in there as well, but the one thing that I will say in all those pieces that you mentioned, and all the way through even the .Connor Webtective film, we owe so much of that to our director of photography, Chris McKechnie.
Yeah.
Because the man's a lighting genius and just knows how to capture really good looking things on camera. And so I think sometimes people, and I think we talked about this in the blue collar thing, actually, you might remember this, but because I think I brought him up even in that, but a lot of people will point to not that they will point to, but a lot of people think and often talk about the equipment being the thing. Oh, well, if you have this camera and you have this lens, and you can have the most expensive camera setup in the world, you can have a huge 3-ton, grip and electric truck. It's got every lighting thing known to man. But if you don't have somebody who you go, hey, I want it to look like this, and they go, great, I know exactly how to do that. Give me this fixture, give me that fixture. Let's put it here and put it there, and then it looks awesome. Like if you don't have that person, then you spend a lot of money to really not be able to use the equipment the best way possible. And so that's really it. It's a combination of having a strong vision for it, being able to clearly communicate that vision. And so I encourage people all the time to, like, if they're a writer, if they're a director, is like, go find movies or TV shows that are similar to what you're trying to do, and then see what they did and see how they did it and see how it looked, and not necessarily that you're trying to copy those things. I think that's not what you're trying to do as much as you're trying to go, it helps you communicate better. And so often with a lot of those pieces that we would shoot, I mean, Chris and I would talk about it in advance. I'd have a shot list. I'd show him reference photos of other movies that I might have been inspired by, or go, hey, I kind of want it to have this feeling. And then having him like engage with us on, what's the bare minimum kind of amount of gear that we can get. Whatever camera and lens set he might be on at the time is what we shot on. It's sort of like, it doesn't kind of matter to the equipment isn't really what matters. It's the people. It's like the person. I mean, maybe she would say this, and I may go ahead and say it. But like, if you hire the right director.
No,
but,
it's true.
Yeah, if you hire, if your director is somebody that has the right vision, if your producer is somebody that can get it done, if your director of photography understands the lighting, then it doesn't matter if you've got, a Sony camera and a standard set of lenses. It's going to look good. It's gonna do exactly what you want it to do. And so we've been very fortunate to just be able to meet people that we go, man, that person is really good at that thing, and so let's work with them. What can we not have in terms of gear rental that maybe allows us to hire that person at a rate that's comfortable, that they feel comfortable with, in order to take advantage of their talent. Yeah. So I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
It's so hard to say, only because when it comes to, when you say it's high quality, it means we had a good script with good actors, good lighting, it was shot well, and we had a sound design. And so it's one of those, and we were able to maximize the budgets that we were given. But I mean, it requires some budget to have the right lighting on set, and
we're not doing these for hundreds of dollars.
The right sound design and the right color grade. But it's one of those things, there's so many layers. I think there's a lot of people who think that if they shoot, cinematically, or they get a camera and they're like, okay, if I just shoot it this way, it'll look like a movie. It's actually really funny. So when we were screening our movie and taking our DCP to the movie theater to make sure it played on their equipment, we were talking with the technician behind it, and the technician was like, there's so many times somebody would play the movie on their equipment, and it would show on the screen, and they go, it's not supposed to look like this. And he was like, I think a lot of them thought that once you put it into like the reel or into the camera,
in the projector,
it playing on the movie screen would all of a sudden make it look like the movies that you see on the Hollywood screen, that Hollywood movies. And it's really, there's so many things that go into it when it comes to your color grade. And I think quality just means how many layers did you build into, like how many layers deep did you go? Did you just have a camera and an actor?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's only going to look a certain way. Did you have a camera, an actor, and a really good script? Well, it's going to look another way. Do you have somebody who knows how to shoot on that camera with a good actor and a good script? So you're going to go higher and higher the more layers, good quality layers that you've added in there. And sometimes it's how much can you afford on those layers? And that's just, and it's just one of those things, like we've been really lucky, but like really like God has put this charge in our lives. And if we could quit it, I think we would, but we can't. Like, it really is like, it feels like this is what God has made us for at this time. And so, and the people that he's brought into our lives to build our production company and make these beautiful pieces like Chris, you know. And so I'm so glad that we can create this art for God and for other Christians to take in, and other kids. But it's one of those things, like, it's God led Chris to us in the craziest kind of story, you know, and God has given you these really, really deep gifts of script writing and directing for no other reason than you just loved watching old movies with your dad and did when you were growing up, because you weren't allowed to go anywhere, you know. And so it's a little bit like that. What is it? Slumdog Millionaire, where like all of these events of his life enabled him to be able to get that $1 million prize. And so it's just like the way God has knit our production company together. In knowing all of those layers and how to achieve those layers, you know, which I think is obviously you.
Well,
you know how, like, you're like, this needs a color grade. I don't know how to do color grade, but I will find somebody who knows how to do it.
Well, and I think I think to kind of add to that just briefly is it's also having the mentality that because we're representing Christ in making these things, it should be of the highest quality. It needs to rival what Hollywood's putting out, and not settling. And that's meant, you know, some difficult conversations and some difficult nights and some long seasons of trying to get there. But we are wholeheartedly committed to like proving, almost stubbornly so, that this kind of stuff can be just as good as if it was done by Hollywood, because we feel like brings honor to the Lord, because ultimately the gifts come from him. Chris would say the exact same thing, I think, is that his gift in terms of being able to set up lighting and get the shot right, or my gift in terms of directing and writing, or her gift in terms of casting, it all comes from the Lord. And so if we're not doing it to the best of our ability, then we're not doing it for his glory. So anyway.
Yeah. We went to Liberty University. That's where we met. And we were lucky enough to have Jerry Falwell as our chancellor. He spoke every Wednesday, sometimes more often. And he always said, if it's Christian, it ought to be better. And, you know, I nodded along and I wrote it down on my notes, and I thought that was really good. And I was always trying to give my best effort anyway. But like when we were making this movie, I kept coming back to that time and time again. If it's Christian, if we're going to say this is a Christian movie for Christian families, it ought to be better. And so I think that's part of our drive, not just, you know, whatever your hand finds to do all to the glory of God, and doing your best effort. But we just wanted a good movie for Christian families, and hopefully to raise the bar and teach other people how to, you know, have better movies for more Christian families to enjoy.
Well, everything you do does that, and it's funny you say that, because when God put this program on my heart, I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
I mean, I've been out of the industry for over 25 years, and I just put it out there, and then all of a sudden, Eric ended, our technical producer, he was recommended to me, and then Gina fell into my lap, and in exactly what you're saying, if you're doing it because you believe this is what God is telling you to do, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The people are going to come to you that you need to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's why I really loved what you were saying there, because it really hit home. Mm-hmm. And so now, as far as .Connor goes, it's on Angel. Is that correct? And how did that connection come together?
I mean, that we kind of we've always kind of
go way back with Angel.
We go way back. We've kind of done a little dance with Angel over the years. The original .Connor series almost ended up with Angel initially, but for a lot of reasons, we decided not to go that route back then. And as we were coming around we did a limited theatrical release in September of last year, but then we always knew that digital would be a big part of that. And we were handling the what's called the TVOD release, where you buy or rent on major platforms. And yet at the same time, we were like, okay, we obviously need to put it on streaming platforms to try to get it in front of the right audiences. And to be honest with you, I mean, like, we're just not really sure where you would go right now other than Angel. There's Wonder Project, obviously, but they're kind of a little standoffish to independence. They're taking a lot of studio content, and then there's other smaller ones that I'm sure we'll end up talking to eventually. But we were looking for where's a big chunk of an audience that this would be ripe for, and Angel just kind of seemed that way. And so we just went through the same process a lot of people do, which is putting it on the Guild, and it was easily passed. And then I think they at that point were really excited to get it onto the Angel app as quickly as possible. As a matter of fact, it's funny, we kind of slowed our roll down a little bit on it just because we didn't want it to come out right at the same time as the TVOD release. And so but Angel wants to have this kind of content on their app, content for families, and we have found ourselves kind of in that space of not a ton of people trying to. I think everybody agrees a lot of content needs to be made in that space for older kids in particular. A lot of Christian content is made for a lot younger kids.
Yeah.
And so I think they were super excited to have something like that kind of come across. And so they were super great to work with and get it up, pretty quickly onto their app back in, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And so it came out last month on the app, and it's available now. And then we're actually now in conversation with them about the original series coming onto the Angel app as well.
Oh, great.
Soon. So
yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, before we wrap up, I do have 2 final things I want to touch base on. First of all, is the .Connor fedora actually available for purchase?
I mean, we bought it on Amazon.
We bought it on Amazon. We should put that out as a link.
We do have one. One
yeah,
extra.
We got one extra one back there.
That's our insight.
But yeah, we should probably put it out there. I mean, obviously we've gotten that question, so
yeah.
But it is available on Amazon. We should get.
You should make a connection with that, because I think that would really do well. Because I'm sure Lily would look absolutely wonderful in her fedora.
We had
and the other thing.
We had a girl come in a fedora during it was for the premiere.
The casting crew.
She wore her.
Oh, that's great.
Young girl, a young fan.
Yeah.
See, you're touching people, and that matters. You get the
little .Connors.
That is so. It must have been so cute to see that, and so rewarding to you guys too. When you think about it, that she actually said, "Mom, Dad, I need to buy a fedora."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing we do before we're going to go into the longer trailer for .Connor before we roll out. But my oldest son Tyler is a legitimate hero. He's a fireman, and my youngest son Matthew is profoundly autistic. And for some reason, 9 seconds means something to him. So at the end of our show here, we always ask for our guests to give us Matthew's 9-ish seconds of wisdom. If you want to just throw something out there.
9 seconds of wisdom. Okay.
Yeah, just some words to maybe change somebody's opinion or life on something.
Ooh, wow. Does she get 9 seconds and I get 9 seconds? That's the big question.
And the best part about it is that's why we call it 9-ish. So, so you can both take as long as you want. I appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
As a producer, I want to time it.
Yeah, right.
we had Jake and Sky on us there. Brother and sister who are musicians, and they were also autistic. And she was funny. She timed it to 9 seconds exactly.
Oh, that's so funny, yeah.
And then when Jake gave his, when he finished, she goes, "That was 23 seconds." So have at it, guys.
Do you want me to go while you're thinking?
I think I will, but unfortunately, my 9 seconds of wisdom comes straight from the Bible. Whatever your hand finds to do all to the glory of God.
Yeah,
That's all.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Mine is about the Bible, doesn't come from the Bible, but I mean it's why we did .Connor, and what we try to communicate to kids is there's life in the Bible, there's truth in the Bible. It's the place you got to go to. The more you get into it, it's not gonna falter. Your faith will only grow. And so, if any kids watch this, just guys, Bible's awesome. Get into it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And Andrew, Jay, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you guys back down in Nashville, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm so glad you got to tell people about Huff Media Productions, .Connor, Webtective, and listen, it's fun. It's a fun show. The series is great. The movie is great. It's a lot of fun. And I want to thank you guys for being here, and we're going to try to keep in touch. You got anything new coming up, let us know. But as we roll out of here, we're going to watch the trailer for .Connor, Webtective.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Great Connor, tell us where the list is.
I don't think so.
The day has finally come. I'm about to embark on one of the most challenging and dangerous undertakings of my life.
Good morning. Welcome to Stratmeyer High.
Okay, that's just our first class. Surely we'll have something together, right? Yep. That should have been my first clue. Everything was about to go horribly wrong.
Well. If it isn't .Connor Hack-Tective.
And it doesn't help that there's, the other problem.
You think this message is a clue to where your dad might be hiding. And based on the call you got, he might be in danger and needs your help. Does that about sum it up?
So it begins.
I feel a mystery coming on. You know what that means. We've got a case to crack. It's geocaching. We go to a location and are given the next clue.
I like jackets. It would look good on me.
No one is interested in your fashion opinion.
Maybe you should be. I'm the one that bought the jacket.
.Connor skipped school. What's Connor?
Lulu! I made it! What a disaster.
I'm gonna hold this over Dot for the rest of her life.
I know it feels like your life is out of control, but God is gonna see you through it.
I don't have to be bigger. I just have to be crazier.
She does seem crazy.
Whatever happens, I know I have the best Webtective on the case.